I will start the recording right now. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much for inviting us here today. My name is Briggitte Lowe, and I am a Deputy District Attorney in Alameda County, and I am here with some of my good friends who also do some amazing work in our county. So I'd like to go down the line and have everyone introduce themselves. So I'm going to start with Sergeant Irizarry.
Good morning. Hi, I'm Sergeant Angela Irizarry, and I work for Hayward Police Department. And currently I'm assigned to the Youth and Family Service Bureau.
Thank you. Elgin Lowe.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for allowing me to come today. My name is Elgin Lowe. I am a Senior Deputy District Attorney with the Alameda County District Attorney's Office. I've been a DA almost 25 years now.
Thank you. Holly Fleming.
Hi, I'm Holly Fleming, she, her. I'm a child interview specialist at Calico, as well as the program director for our Children's Advocacy Centers of California.
Thank you. Thank you. So I'm going to start with Sergeant Irizarry again. Can you tell me a little bit about what you do, first of all?
So as a sergeant assigned to the Youth and Family Service Bureau, I get to work with actually school-based therapists and marriage family counseling therapists. What I do is I review a lot of juvenile cases that come my way and try to work with the therapist and trying to find interventions, because the last thing that we want to do is put them through the pipeline of going to juvenile hall. If they have an opportunity to go through a restorative justice intervention, kind of help them to see what, reasons why they're committing crime, whether it's shoplifting to maybe having fights at schools, or any other crime that they may have committed. I review a lot of those cases and work with our counselors, and they do a lot of intervention services. Prior to 2 years ago, I was actually the school resource officer sergeant, but unfortunately the program was eliminated, hopefully just temporarily. So it's a new title that I was given. I was able to maintain working with the Youth and Family Service Bureau, which is what I love, because again, it's an opportunity to encourage youth to stay out of trouble and give them an opportunity to positively engage in them and try to get them back on the right track.
That's great. Thank you so much. Holly.
Hi. So I work at Calico, which is Alameda County's Children's Advocacy Center, and my work is currently split up between two roles. So my first role is I'm a child interview specialist, which means that I talk to children about allegations of child abuse. I work with people like police officers and social workers to give a space for the child to talk about what happened using their own words so we can understand. Now, the second part of my job is promoting programs like this throughout the state to ensure that communities have the best response to child abuse allegations for all of California.
Thanks, Holly. Elgin?
Yeah, like I said, I've been a prosecutor for almost 25 years now. So my current assignment is I charge cases. And so say someone at Angela's department, some officer at Angela's department or detective arrests someone for a crime, I would get that review, that file, and it may come over looking something like a packet like this. And so this packet basically says someone was cited for a crime, and I have to look through this packet and read these reports and decide whether or not that case is going to get charged or not charged, or if we defer it in a type of way. So in the end, I have to use my discretion to determine whether someone gets charged with the case, even though they've been arrested. That doesn't necessarily mean they're going to get charged with a crime. But throughout my career, I've actually been a trial attorney, which is probably one of my favorite jobs, is being in trial. And I've done other more managerial stuff. But at this point, I'm behind the desk and I do a lot of the charging, making those decisions as to whether someone gets charged with the crime or not get charged with the crime, or if we kind of maybe want to divert it somehow, like Sergeant Irizarry was talking about earlier.
Thank you. So I'm going to switch it up a little bit and go back to Holly. And I want to know, tell me your educational background. Start with how you chose a college, and same question for all of you guys. How did you choose your college? If you went to graduate school, if there's any trainings that you had to have for your job, and really walk us through how you got here.
Sure. So I knew I wanted to study psychology from a pretty young age. I went to Santa Clara University for my undergraduate degree. I picked Santa Clara because I wanted a small school. I was a strong student, but I knew if I was in a big classroom, I would disappear. And so I wanted to make sure I went somewhere small. So I got an undergrad in psychology, and then I went on right away to a master's degree in clinical psychology. At the time, I had thought I wanted to work with people with major mental health disorders like schizophrenia. And so I went for clinical psychology. So during that time, I was required to be a therapist. And I worked in a community clinic in Long Beach. And through that, I started to see some of the systems that were kind of letting people down, things that were leading to adults having to look back on their childhood and look at things that had happened. And I realized I wanted to work in those systems and kind of go a different way from psychology. And so I went into the nonprofit sector. To be an interview specialist and to talk to kids, I completed something called the California Forensic Interview Training. And that's done through the Children's Advocacy Center that I was hired at. And then through that work, I just started working a lot and then started doing some of the managerial stuff with writing grants. And that's how I became a program director.
Thank you. Thank you. Sergeant?
Well, right after high school, I thought I wanted to be a physical therapist. So I went to Cal State University, Fresno, and changed my major maybe 3 or 4 times because I realized I was not really great in science. So I decided to change my degree actually to communicative disorders because I thought I was going to end up being a speech therapist. Well, that all changed. So after I decided that I was just going to go ahead and just get my degree because I did not want to be a 6-7 year college student still trying to figure out what I was going to do. So I just figured I'll just let life take its course and lead me into a direction that was meant to be. So I actually worked in several different industries, from the health and fitness, corporate. And it wasn't until 2 things happened. One, my brother worked for Sunnyvale Department of Public Safety. So he was a police officer since he was 21 and has since retired. And he just kept telling me, Angela, you are really great with people. And you like, it seems like you like a lot of action. You like a lot of diversity. You should really look into law enforcement. But I had no idea. I wasn't sure if that's what I really wanted to do. But I was inspired by a character on Law and Order SVU. So if you do watch that show, it's been on for like 20 plus years. And I was quite inspired by Detective Benson at the time. And I said, you know what? I want to be a detective. I want to be a special victims detective. But before becoming a detective, you have to be a patrol officer. And Hayward was hiring at the time. And so I applied with Hayward in a civilian position. So I pretty much got my foot in the door. And then after a year of doing a civilian position as a crime prevention specialist, there was an opening as a police officer trainee. And at 32, which may seem kind of old for you, but actually was, not too old, but still young enough to, as long as I was able to go through the police academy for 6 months and endure the physical training and all the courses that I had to take. I graduated and I became sworn, and I did patrol for 2 years. And then eventually I did become a detective in special victims unit, and eventually worked my way up in the last 15 years. And now I'm a sergeant.
Thank you. Elgin.
Yeah, I chose my college because I was playing baseball. And so luckily for me, I started at junior college first. I was playing baseball at junior college. And then luckily I was blessed with a scholarship to go to UC Santa Barbara to continue playing baseball. I had no idea what I wanted to do with my life other than play baseball, but I also continued to do well in school. So my senior year, I had never even thought about being an attorney. Didn't really know what an attorney did, didn't really have any access or knowledge to an attorney other than I knew if someone had an attorney, they were probably in trouble. So, so my teammates and I were talking about what we might do after we were done graduating, and somebody suggested maybe I should go to law school because I would be a good lawyer. And I said, what do you mean? And he said, well, basically, you take care of all our problems on the team. You kind of, everybody, when there's a problem, we kind of come to you and you kind of fix it. And so, you know, you do well in school and you're kind of good at that stuff. So maybe you should think about it. So then I said, okay, that's something I thought about. So I ended up applying to law school. And I got into law school up in San Francisco at Hastings. I'm from Southern California, so I was not familiar with anyone up here other than some teammates that were up here. So made my way to Hastings Law School with the idea of finishing up law school and then becoming a sports agent. I was going to go back to Southern California because I still had a lot of friends and stuff playing baseball and sport. I was going to be a sports agent. While I was in school, if you had asked me, I wouldn't even know what a district attorney was. You know, I had no idea, even when I got to law school. But then the summer of my second year, I was applying for jobs and I got a job at the DA's office for the summer. And during that summer, I got to do a jury trial on a DUI case. And I really stuck with me and I liked it and I liked the trial work. So I ended up taking that job out of law school, thinking that I'd have the job a few years. And then I'd move back to Southern California and do what I wanted to do, and enjoy myself and enjoy going back to Southern California. But life is funny. So it's 25 years later. I'm still here. I enjoy the work I do because it allows me to basically keep our community as safe as possible and be involved in things such as, and to share my experiences. And so I never knew what I was going to do until I was doing it. And it kind of opened up doors that way. So I wasn't with a person that was like, oh, I want to be a lawyer. I know I want to be a lawyer since I was a kid. No, you know, I was basically in college before it even brought up to me. And it was suggested to me. So I know sometimes you guys get that question, what are you going to be at your age? I didn't know. So there's no shame in that. And you just continue on your path and you find your road to your success.
Thank you. So I want to ask each of you, what do you like most about your jobs? And what is maybe one thing if you change make, you know, just even better. So I'm going to ask Angela. Sorry.
That's fine. What I really love, I think I'm still on mute. No, there we go. What I really love, the reason why I decided to go in law enforcement is, like I said, I have a desire to help people. And I know it's kind of like the cliche answer, you know, why you want to be a police officer, you know, to serve and protect, but it goes a little bit beyond that. You know, you get to save lives, and also you get to help, you know, working with the justice system and bringing justice to victims. And the investigation aspect of it is incredible, especially in today's times with just the tools that we have. Just for example, the reported missing, or he was a runaway for 2 days, and just really like using social media, some of the tools that we have, and being able to find him. I mean, it's just finding a closure, you know, for that family, for that parent, you know, who was missing their kid. Or when I was in special victims, you know, being the voice to little kids who, working with like Holly at Calico, and working with, at the time, it was actually Briggitte Lowe, you know, and working together as a team. But also with law enforcement, yeah, it's a good adrenaline rush, for sure. You know, you get to drive fast cars, you get to learn a lot of different skills. The academy, it was... that was probably one of the challenging things for me because, one, like I said, I started late, and it's a 6 months, it's boot camp basically, and we go to Alameda County Sheriff's out in Dublin. And if you ever drive out on 580, you know, going towards Stockton, you get to see this water tower up on the hill. Well, I still am traumatized by that because we had to run that every single day. But the good thing about it was I was in the best shape ever after the academy. You know, you face every day is the unknown, right? There's no routine call. And of course, you know, the danger behind it. And with the politics going on today, it's right now like the pendulum's on one side where we have to defend what we do. We get judged by wearing a uniform and badge. People forget that we're human beings, and we do have to make split-second decisions. And yes, there's sometimes we're put in a position where we might have to take somebody's life or make an arrest and take somebody's freedom. But at the end of the day, each and every day, even as a sergeant, working in the position that I am, if I know I've made a difference in just one person, especially a kid or a family, you just have this sense of proudness. There's a variety to this job. Hopefully, if there's still time, I will show you like a 30-second video and you get to see what we do here at Hayward. But the other great thing is it's great pay. I gotta tell you, our compensation is very competitive. We get great benefits, retirement. Believe it or not, you can, for me, I get to retire eligible at 50 and then be able to pursue another career. So the retirement is awesome. The pay is awesome. The schedule, it really depends. Working patrol, we operate 24/7, right? The police department doesn't shut down for the holidays, and we're open 24/7. So sometimes working the shift schedule can be challenging, and sometimes if you have a family, you get to miss out on some events. But you work 3 days, 12.5-hour shifts. You get 4 days off if you're on patrol. For me in a special assignment, I work 4 days, 10-hour shift, and I get 3 days. So, there's kind of a balance. And, and with that, just in short, that, being a police officer, we deal with people in crisis every day. And sometimes you kind of accumulate or you absorb some of that secondary trauma. And so we have to learn how to not take it home with us and not, we have to find ways to have an outlet, right? Because there are police officers that suffer from post-traumatic stress. And now we're focusing on how we, there's wellness programs available to us so that it allows us to find healthy outlets to deal with the stuff that we see day to day, which sometimes can be very horrific. But in all, 15 years being on the job, I say, out of all the millions of jobs I've had in the past, this was the best for me. And so far, I'm enjoying it. So these 5 years are probably going to go quickly, but I'm going to make the best of it.
And then hopefully you'll come work with us. So Elgin, go ahead.
Yeah, I think one of the best aspects of my job that I enjoy is, like I said, understanding and helping people and keeping our community safe. And especially, as you deal with more serious crimes, there's a lot of trauma, pain, and hurt, and how much law enforcement affects our communities. And so, because in the end, we all want our families, our friends' families, and everyone else to be safe. So what we do at the DA's office is our job is to prosecute, but that means more than just putting people in jail. Sometimes we give them diversion programs. Sometimes we give them mental health counseling. It depends on what's the best way to make sure that they don't come back and continue in a criminal lifestyle. But in the end, sometimes we get some serious cases in that, someone takes someone's life. The punishment is going to be they're going to jail. Or does something serious like a child sexual assault or sexual assault. That's part of it. But the fairness aspect of it and making sure that you see each case as an individual case and not lump everyone into one pot. It's what's great about our office. And as you do more cases, you have some discretion to deal with those things. And so I like that aspect in working with people. One of the hardest parts about it is I think you meet people because something bad has happened. And so a lot of times you're dealing with people who are very, very hurt and very, very traumatized because something bad has happened. And those conversations are always hard at first because they're just getting to know each other. And so, but you have to hear a lot of that pain. And it's kind of like Sergeant was talking about, you have to learn how to not take that home, not take some of the stuff we see that has happened to people home. and how to process that for your own mental health and not take it out back at your home. And so that's one of the hardest things is, once you see certain pictures, the visual never goes out of your mind. It just, how do you process that trauma and how do you make sure that you're mentally okay so that you're there and you continue to do the job? So that's some of the pluses and the minuses, but overall, as a prosecutor, knowing that you can do something to help people in their worst time of need is a huge ability and a huge help. And it may be just being honest with them and having someone to talk to, but being there as just not just an attorney, but actually as a community member is a huge thing, because in the end, we may not always, necessarily win a case, but it's the process of people being heard and knowing that someone's there fighting for them and their family members. That's the most important part.
Thank you. Holly?
I would say the best part about my job is, like, on the large scale, is that I know I'm a part of a group of people who's working to make the future better. So children's advocacy centers didn't exist in Alameda County and in most of California 25 years ago. So to know that I'm a part of a team that's changed a system to be more trauma informed, to have better outcomes, to make better future for folks who have been put in a bad situation, like Elgin said, you are meeting folks on a day that might be the worst day of their lives. And so to be a part of a team that set up a system to make that better for the future is what keeps me coming back day to day. On the smaller scale, I really like being able to provide a safe space for that person. My job is to sit in a room alone with someone and to talk about what might be the worst thing that happened to them, might be the most embarrassing thing that happened to them, to create a safe space so that they can do that. The hard part is I usually only get to do that one time. And then it's a warm handoff to folks like therapists, DAs, other people who kind of move through the rest of the system. So that part's kind of hard, that I just get that one moment. But I trust the folks that I'm handing kids off to and handing families off to, so I know they're off to a good place. The other thing is grant work is hard. If you join a nonprofit, you may have to write grants and they're tedious. So that part I would change if I could.
And so everyone understands, grants are the purpose of them is?
Oh yeah, so nonprofits, if they want to do a program or funding to do that, because you aren't providing a profit, you're not selling something like a business selling shirts, you aren't getting funding in through what you're doing. So you have to ask for funding from folks like the government or private foundations to fund your program. So I write grants to say, hey, we work with kids and we make the world better. And then people say, we like that work, here's some money to do it.
Thank you. And then the other thing I wanted to point out is that, because I want to make sure you understand how we all work together. And so if there is for example, a child who says that they have been abused in some way, and let's say they tell their teacher that they've been abused in some way, then the teacher will call usually Child Protective Services, but they will also call the police department. So if they call the sergeant, her department will go out and they will not interview the child, because that's not the best thing for the child. What they will do is they will take that child to the Calico Center where Holly works, and Holly will interview the child in what has been determined to be a scientifically sound way of interviewing the child. They are specially trained there to interview a child who has been abused or neglected in a way that is least traumatizing to the child. And then after Holly does her interview with whatever information Holly was able to retrieve from the child, the police officer will then write a police report. That report will then be brought to the district attorney's office and possibly Elgin, and then Elgin will decide what charges to file against the person who did the thing to the child. So I just want to make sure that you understand how we all work together and how the system works to help the people who are victimized in our community. So at this time, I think it would be a really good time to have the sergeant show your video. and talk a little bit about that.
So we have a lot of great videos on YouTube. So if you just put in Join Hayward PD, we have a series. And let's see. My favorite one is this one. Maybe Elgin, because I can see you. When I turn it on, can you tell me if you can hear it? Can you hear? Is there any sound?
No, it's an ad though.
Okay, but no sound? Let me see if I can.
I didn't get.
Let's see more. Share sound. Here we go. All right, there's going to be a quick little, because this is the trial version of YouTube. So here we go.
It's on. I'm here.
El espejo
Is there sound now?
redondo.
Yes.
La lámpara, la barra, la mujer.
Corazón, ya llevas aquí un ratillo. ¿Vas a tomar algo?
Here we go. Skip.
It's an awesome place to work. I don't think, honestly, I couldn't work anywhere else.
Let's move this here.
It's an awesome place to work. I don't think, honestly, I couldn't work anywhere else.
There's a lot of different opportunity here to work different special assignments. I've had opportunities to run cases all the way through to completion.
Your core mission is to get out there and help people. And it's not changed. That's the one thing in this profession that's never changed. Department like Hayward, there's a variety of assignments.
And the beauty about Hayward too, and in my position, is that I also coordinate what's called the Explore program, which is a youth program for kids 14 to 21 years old. So it's for anyone who has a curiosity or even an interest in learning more about law enforcement, in particular with Hayward PD. It's a program that allows you, so you go kind of like through a little basic academy, and you also we meet once a week on Wednesdays for 2 hours with our police advisors. So we're police officers that run the program, and we teach you about law, search and seizure, how to do traffic stops, traffic control. There's also community events opportunity where if you need to do community service hours, it's a free program, and what it is, it allows you it's the whole purpose of it is to kind of build character and also to provide you an opportunity to just kind of learn the different functions of what we do here in the police department and be part of the community. And many of our explorers who may have not had an interest in law enforcement, it opens up an opportunity for them to start considering whether if they want to be a dispatcher or an actual patrol officer or even working our administrative assignments, because there's so much that it's entailed in the department that you're like, well, I don't want to work, patrol, but I want to be a crime scene tech. So we have that. Or, oh, I have an interest in working as a canine officer. So, so we introduce you to different employees here that have different positions. And even because we have Youth and Family Service Bureau, we also bring, if you have an interest in working in counseling with families and being part of the police department. So if you are interested, I don't know, maybe in the chat, I don't know if you have access to it, but I'll put my information, but I am still accepting applications. Perfect, I see the thumbs up. I will send you a brochure and an application if you're interested in learning more about the Explore program.
Great. Elgin, do you want to talk about our summer, our intern program, or the DA Justice Academy?
Yeah, well, it's probably this past November, we have signups for our DA Justice Academy. What it is in the spring, or I should say come January, for juniors and seniors in high school, the DA's office puts on an academy where we introduce you to different areas of the law. It could be criminal law, it could be immigration law, it could be more civil law. And so each week you have a different cohort. And so I don't know, with COVID, I know that they may have been doing it virtually. And so if you go to our DA's website, they may have more information on it. But it's a really good program, because at the end of the program, you have an internship at a various police agency or law firm, or even with the DA's office. It's a paid internship for about 6 weeks. And so you actually get to learn areas of the law, you get to get exposed to them, and we actually work on speech writing and speech, because at the end you have to give a speech on a certain topic with a couple of the people. So it's also about public speaking opportunities also. So it's been going on for about 9-10 years now. And for your cohort in the Eden cohort, it meets at the Hayward Library. And so I think it's either once or bi-weekly that they meet. But it may depend on the COVID situation also, given if we have to do it virtually now. But that's something to look for. If you're a senior now, it's too late, but as a junior, you may want to apply next year. Or if it's sophomore, you can apply next year as a junior or a senior. It's only for juniors and seniors, but it's a good program to get a paid internship at the end, and also to get exposure to some of the various areas of the law and what we do in the legal community.
Clubs that the kids might have to, I don't know, make blankets or provide stuffed animals. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. So every child who comes to Calico leaves with 3 comfort items. So a book, a blanket, and a stuffed animal. We collect all of those items from the community. So those are all donations. And we do those items for the children who come through Calico. So if that's something you're interested in, I will put my email in the chat and you can definitely reach out. Also, in non-COVID times, we do have fundraisers that you could come and volunteer at, or just come and see what's happening if you wanted to learn more about Calico or children's advocacy centers like it.
Thank you. Thank you. So I want to do a 30-second, just sort of your last thoughts and what you want to leave the students with, just the last final thought you want to leave the students with, 30 seconds each, and then we'll open up for questions if there's time. I guess I should say who. Holly, let's start with you.
Okay. I would say no one on this panel is in the career they started thinking, right? And say yes to lots of things, and you'll end up somewhere that's interesting and fun to you. And, you know, you could always look and try different things. So keep an open mind. And if you find a theme that's fun or interesting, like service, then stick with it, see what comes.
Advice. Okay, Sergeant.
Yes, I like to echo what Holly says, just from personal experience. It took me from 18 to 32 years old to figure out what I really wanted, what was a calling for me. But the most important thing is I encourage, because even to become a police officer, all you really need is a high school and GED. But I encourage that you do go to college, whether it's a junior college or a state college or a UC, get that education, because it will open more opportunities to you. And even though my degree has nothing to do with law enforcement, but it actually helped me become a sergeant, because it's a requirement to have a bachelor's degree. And being in this and being in law enforcement, I mean, you're pretty much wear many hats. You're like a social worker, you're a counselor, you're a law enforcement peace officer, And so, in whatever, if you do have an interest in law enforcement, I mean, get a degree in either sociology, psychology. It doesn't even have to be in criminal justice, because you'll get to learn a lot in 6 months of the academy. And every year we have 10 months of continual training. And if there's, and maybe it might open up another opportunity for you. So don't feel, if you're a junior or senior, like you need to figure it out. Just go whatever calls you. But I do encourage that you continue your education, because it's starting to get a little bit more competitive out there, and it's easier to get your degree early on than it is trying to catch up in later in life.
That's really good advice. Thank you. Elgin.
Yeah, I guess my biggest thing is time waits for no one. And so as you guys are getting older now, you see life kind of speeds up. But just stay focused, and no matter what happens to anyone else, never think that you can't succeed. I always tell my son goes to this school now, and when we went to visit the school, he says, "Hey, I've never heard of anyone getting into this college." And I said, "Well, then go be the first person you know to get into that college." And so luckily he was accepted, but my point is, never let someone else's issues stop you. Always maintain your focus on what you want to do, and because you don't know where your blessing is. You don't know what's out there for you and where it may come. So you just continue to work hard, have a good hard work ethic, and things will happen that you will be surprised, because your blessing's out there. You just have to go get it. And understand that hard work pays off. Hard work pays off, and be diligent, because like I say, none of us expected to be where we are, but we worked hard, and our blessings came because through that hard work. So never let what happens to someone else dictate what happens to you. You kind of work hard for your own future, and it'll come in one shape or form or another.
Great. Thank you all so much. Does anyone have any questions?
Thank you guys so much. That was awesome. Do you guys have any questions? Anybody wanna come
How
up
do we
here?
get a hold of the stuff that they put in the chat?
Oh, don't worry, I'm gonna send that to you. So
Like,
just
either of us, like, email?
yeah, just see me after class, and I'll take down your student ID if you want to, and I'll email you all of the info. Do you guys have any questions that you want to come up and ask?
I have a question,
Anyone?
but like I don't want to like have other people like waiting.
No, you're fine. Do you want to come up?
Yeah, I have a question for Miss Holly.
All right. We have a question for Miss Holly.
Hi Holly. Wait. Okay. Can you hear me?
Yeah, she can hear you.
Okay. Is there a certain demographic of kids you work with, for example, like kids in foster care?
That's a really good question. We work with all children in Alameda County. So we see children who are in foster care, but we also see children who aren't in foster care, who are in homes with their birth parents, with caregivers, with different family members. So we'll see anybody.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyone else?
I also have a question for
Uh-huh.
should I just
Yeah, you can come up. We got another question.
it's also for Holly.
Uh-huh.
Hey.
Go ahead.
You said that you work with social workers, and I was wondering how closely you work with them, and if you follow up on any of the children that you like interview.
That's also a great question. So just like if a child told a teacher that they had been hurt in some way, and the teacher reported it to the police, and then the sergeant would come to Calico, or someone who works for her, sometimes if they tell the social worker, they'll also come to Calico, or if it's deemed that a social worker needs to be involved in the situation. So maybe the allegation involves someone who lives at home. So they will come to Calico, and so we'll work with them for the duration of our portion of the case, which is usually just the beginning of the case. We do follow up. We have a monthly case review where we look at cases just to make sure there's nothing's fallen through the cracks, that everyone is getting all the services they need. And then because the same folks come through often, we do have relationships with them. So sometimes we'll talk about, hey, what happened to that family and kind of what's happened next.
Awesome. Thank you.
Mhm.
Anyone else? All right, thank you guys so much. It looks like we're ready to wrap up. I really, really appreciate you guys being here today. It was an awesome presentation. And thank you for providing your contact info as well. I'll be sending that out to the students later, so they might be reaching out to you this week or next, so just be aware of that. Thank you so much. Appreciate you guys being here.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
And thank you to all my friends who agreed to do this. Thank you, guys.
Thank you
Anytime.
for having us.
Anytime. Yes.
All right. Bye-bye,
Have a good
everyone.
rest of the day. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.